Wanted to get a little bit of a deeper dive around the inventory spectrum that you guys see. Obviously, with OTT and across all the other channels in video today. I mean, because there are so many publishers, as you were saying earlier, that can become OTT. That's got to be a massive supply and aggregate of inventory that's available. How are you finding the buyers being able to cherry pick or tearing off? Do you see that there's a long tail of inventory that's available because of that? And how hard is it for buyers to grasp that, hey, contextually you might be able to buy across everything, or is there a hard line where people are kind of creating definitions around what inventory is right for them?
Yeah, so it varies kind of wildly across the industry. So I can talk about the way that we look at it. So from a publisher standpoint, FreeWheel's focus has always been premium publishers, and we define that to include all of the traditional TV programmers and VPDs, but also there's a wide scope of digital-only publishers that we consider premium. There's now a kind of very low threshold for launching a app that will kind of get TV distribution. So there is a big part of the industry now that is kind of long tail digital video, but actually on a TV. And so we spend a lot of time and energy when we're evaluating who we want to work with to make sure that publishers that we don't know well go through a pretty exhaustive process to just look at things like, can we validate that traffic is valid? Can we validate brand safety? Can we validate that if they're distributors, they have the right to sell that inventory? And so we've kind of created a kind of quality threshold that we use for anything that we kind of package up and bring to market. And we spend a lot of time educating brands and agencies about that. We are fortunate enough that we can be fully transparent with kind of what runs in our ecosystem because we have such a focus on quality. But not everyone in the ecosystem understands that, and as marketers are looking for scale, it's sometimes easy to trade off scale for lesser quality inventory.
How easy is it to have the translation of your own quality scores match up with what a buyer would want to bring to the table and say, well, this is our methodology where we draw a line? Are you able to pivot and change, or is it kind of, they're a little more of them understanding and appreciating, look, you guys know your inventory better than us, and as long as we can understand and appreciate the methodology there, we're going to be good to go? Yeah,
so we have conversations with all the marketers that we work with. And I think for the most part, 90% of what people view as quality is aligned. There's marketer conversation, the DSP conversations, that kind of goes from conceptual all the way down to the KPIs in which that we're using to measure quality. And so for every kind of media sale that we go make from our marketplace, that is now a big part of the conversation that's part of that sales process.
I'm curious about that buyer then that you're talking to, because you've got several teams that are calling on several different types of buyers. Curious about who is actually making the decisions. Does it depend still on the channel or the inventory? Because I'm sure, as your teams know, there could be up to 4 or 5 different people within the same company at an agency or at a brand that are making these types of decisions. How is your sales team finding their way, kind of navigating? Are we getting closer to unification around one buying team for all video, no matter what the channel is, or are you seeing still, well, the OTT specialists are sitting over here, or the longer tail local team is still over there?
Yeah, so I think the reality is we're getting closer, but it's still very complex. And if you look especially at the major holding companies, it varies pretty significantly. So we invest a lot of time in kind of mapping out those organizations and understanding who the key people are, kind of regardless of title, because those titles also kind of vary wildly across holding companies, but also ultimately connecting to the teams that work with the brands. Brands are driving the decision making, and the holding companies are trying to serve their needs. So if we can really understand what those teams are looking to solve for and how they want to invest, that's where we found the most success. But one pocket for us that's been really interesting are some of the kind of non-major holding companies, the non-major independents, the kind of mid-market agencies where they are maybe linear legacy, they've kind of gotten into digital, but they have not scaled to a point where they had 2 separate teams, so they kind of got a single team by default. And the kind of value proposition to those organizations and the level of friction is much lower sometimes than going into the major holding companies. So in some sense, we've had a lot of success, and I feel like some of those agencies are kind of taking advantage of that unification of linear and digital in a way that the bigger ones are not yet. But I fully believe we'll get there very quickly.
Classic nimbler orgs may be able to actually handle things a little bit more flexibly and rise to the generalist. Neil Smith of FreeWheel, thank you.